Breaking news on NVIDIA. Let's get to Seema Modi. Seema.
John, Bloomberg is reporting that NVIDIA has received a Department of Justice subpoena in an escalating antitrust investigation. We know there's been growing concerns that given NVIDIA's dominance in artificial intelligence chips, that it could potentially invite antitrust concerns and therefore regulatory interest. I would also point out that the DOJ antitrust chief, Jonathan Cantor, joined us on CNBC just a month ago. And at that time, we pressed him on how he was looking at the semiconductor industry. And he had said at that time that he was thinking about AI chip competition. We have reached out to NVIDIA. More when we get it. John?
All right, that stock down about 1.5% in overtime. Seema, thanks. Welcome back. NVIDIA shares getting slammed in the regular session, now getting dinged again in overtime after Bloomberg reported the company received a DOJ subpoena in an escalating antitrust investigation. Joining us now on the newsline is Patrick Moorhead from More Insights and Strategy. Pat, good to have you. So what do you make of this antitrust stuff with NVIDIA? I mean, it seems they're clearly the product leader in AI, and so they're winning fair and square. What's to investigate?
Yes, this is completely expected, and NVIDIA has over 90% of the data center GPU market share. And when you combine that with the Lina Khan administration, and I would say the new rules for what can be proved as being a monopolist, and that is, it's not what you have done, it's what you might do. I like to call that pre-crime, which is pretty new for the past 6 or 7 years out there.
Okay, pre-crime, but eventually a judge is going to have to weigh in, I imagine. At least, you know, with the U.S., it seems like being a monopoly isn't illegal. Abusing monopoly power is, right?
That's exactly right, and that gets into the new rules. I mean, if you look at 10 years ago, you had to show damages to consumers, to companies, to innovations, and now it has shifted over the past decade to what you might do. It'd be very hard to look back at the marketplace, at history, and demonstrate where NVIDIA has abused its monopolistic powers, because that history really doesn't exist here.
All right, speaking of NVIDIA, we've got a news alert on the DOJ subpoena for NVIDIA. Seema Modi's got the details. Seema.
Most of the U.S. Justice Department reportedly sending a subpoena to NVIDIA asking for more information from the chip maker amid antitrust concerns. So getting potentially a step closer to a complaint, this according to Bloomberg. Now, NVIDIA's dominance of artificial intelligence chips has gained more attention, inviting regulatory interest in recent months. Its main competitors in the public market, AMD and Intel. In the private market, there's two main players, Cerebras, which confidentially filed to go public this fall, and Grok, which has a $2.8 billion valuation. It's backed by BlackRock, Cisco, and venture capital names. NVIDIA declined to comment on this story, Mel, but we are seeing shares down another 2% in after hours.
All right, Seema, thank you. Seema Modi. So another strike potentially against NVIDIA. I mean, everybody wants NVIDIA chips for a reason. So if all of a sudden they don't have that lock, for whatever reason, the government...
Well, I think partially that's why it sort of accelerated to the downside today. I think there was probably a leak on that. To have this resolved in the short term seems highly unlikely to me. Highly.
But this is such a joke. I mean, like, there's been a lot of stupid regulatory stuff that's looking at tech right now. I mean, there is no competition. So they have, like, all the products, you know what I mean? So, and they also, there's so much demand that they can obviously charge what they want to charge. So, I mean, at the end of the day, are we going to be into free market capitalism? Or, you know, it's one thing if they really have a lot of cheesy sort of sales practices and the like, but it just doesn't seem like that's the case. And customers are tripping over each other to buy their product.
Right. I mean, part of the complaint, according to Bloomberg, is that it's difficult to switch once you're in this NVIDIA. Same for Apple. I mean, isn't that the mark of a great product? It's hard to switch.
Gillette is going way back to the original razor blade model.
Right, exactly.
Yes, hard to switch, use other razors.
That's the
Guy
point.
still uses a straight edge.
Yeah.
And you sharpen it on a leather belt.
Dan's right. I mean, there are a lot of things to be, I think, concerned about. I don't think this is one of them, but I understand. But, you know, if we're going to start to penalize greatness, I mean, we have bigger problems than just NVIDIA. But Karen said something always intelligent. She said it again tonight. What's the catalyst at this point for some of these names? And one has to wonder, unless the broader market gets back on its horse in a meaningful way, I do think these names are under pressure. And I'm glad Chris mentioned this. Vistra Energy. This is not an indictment of the company, but if you pull up a 10-year chart, we never talked about this company because it didn't go anywhere for the better part of 10 years. The stock went from 60 to 125 like that, but look at the recent move back down to 75. This is all part and parcel of what we're talking about. And I'm glad you mentioned AMD because that's been a disaster now for the last 6 months or so.
Yeah. What do we know? They always get to the marginal stocks first, right? They've hit all the marginal semis first. Ultimately, they get the general. You know, NVIDIA peaked in June. It peaked a month before the S&P.
Outside reversal day.
June 20th.
Yes.
June 20th.
Rain Man.
Exactly.
Rain
exactly.
Men.
Just a separate question. NVIDIA, at this point of the ball game, what inning are we in for them?
I think we're in the third inning, and that ultimately I think that there was a misunderstanding of what happened with guidance. They guided up by 2.5% for the October quarter. Previously, when they guided for the July quarter, they guided up 5%. So there's this narrative about this deceleration. But keep in mind that Blackwell slipped. They didn't use that language, but clearly, if you go back and look at the transcripts from 2 quarters ago to the July quarter, it slipped by 3 months. That's $3 billion, they said, several billion. You factor that in, NVIDIA would have raised guidance by 12%, not 2.5%. So I think this is still very early. We own NVIDIA at Deepwater. We think that it is still reasonably priced at 35 times and can grow faster than what the street thinks next year. And in 2026, ultimately, the risk for big companies not to invest in this is just too high. NVIDIA is going to be a big beneficiary of that.
All right, I want to start with that clip of Gene Munster that you just watched, and then I'll give an update on the current situation surrounding NVIDIA. Gene points out something very important that I've mentioned in the past couple of NVIDIA-specific videos on this channel, and that is that the deceleration in NVIDIA's growth rate this quarter all comes down to the delay in Blackwell. NVIDIA expects roughly $3 billion in revenue from Blackwell in the first quarter that it ships. Blackwell is delayed by 3 months to Q4. And so if there had not been a 3-month delay in Blackwell, then NVIDIA would have guided Q3 revenue higher by $3 billion, and therefore the growth rate of NVIDIA would still be accelerating. And this is very important because it means that we could see the growth rate of NVIDIA reaccelerate in the future once Blackwell is shipping in volume. With that in mind, and considering NVIDIA's solid earnings, I think NVIDIA is a great long-term investment. In the short term, though, we have some important matters to discuss, so let's get into it. Let me tell you what's happening on the chart, and then I'll address this subpoena situation. So in the past couple NVIDIA videos on this channel, the video last Friday and the video this past Saturday, I told you that we were trading below the 50 MA on the daily time frame. That is the purple line on your screen. And I told you that I was looking for NVIDIA to trade lower in the days ahead and test this support trend line that stretches all the way back to January of this year. And today, that is exactly what happened. In the video I posted earlier today, I told you that if we have a clear breakout to the downside below this support trend line, then I will be looking for NVIDIA to trade lower down toward previous support around $90 per share. And we very clearly have a breakout to the downside. The daily chart does not include after-hours trading, but if I switch over to the 4-hour time frame, you can see that we have very clearly broken below the trend line. Now I want to make a very important point, so please hear me well. I'm not saying that NVIDIA will immediately hit $90 per share. It may be a matter of days before this happens, and there could potentially be some green days along the way. It is entirely possible, but I think we are likely headed toward $90 per share in the coming days unless something unexpected and massively positive happens first. Now, if NVIDIA reaches $90 per share or even dips lower into the 80s, then I personally think that is a fantastic long-term buying opportunity in NVIDIA. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor, so take what I say with a grain of salt. That being said, this company is a cash flow machine, and as I mentioned earlier, I seriously think we could see NVIDIA's growth rate reaccelerate once Blackwell ships in volume. The growth rate would have still been accelerating this quarter if Blackwell had not been delayed by 3 months. Now let me briefly address the subpoena situation. At this point, the DOJ is simply conducting an investigation. According to Bloomberg, officials are concerned that NVIDIA is making it harder to switch to other suppliers and penalizing buyers that do not exclusively use its artificial intelligence chips. The DOJ had previously delivered questionnaires and has now sent legally binding requests to NVIDIA. So right now, the DOJ is simply investigating. This does not mean that there is any problem. It just means that they are looking into the situation and gathering information. Now, it is true that NVIDIA does have a big lead when it comes to AI chips. They are very much ahead of their competition. At the same time, NVIDIA has been in business for over 30 years, and so, of course, they are going to be miles ahead of startups that are trying to design chips that rival NVIDIA's. I've been hearing a lot recently that there are some private companies claiming that they have developed chips that are even faster than NVIDIA's, And this is actually good news for NVIDIA because it shows that NVIDIA is not the only company capable of producing chips like this. And as long as NVIDIA isn't doing anything to intentionally keep their competition out of the marketplace, then I don't expect much of anything to come from this antitrust investigation. Of course, I don't know what the future holds, and I don't know all of the details, but I have a feeling that this is a short-term scare that will likely be unimportant in the grand scheme of NVIDIA's long-term future. At least that's how I see it. With all of that being said, I hope you're all having a great day and staying calm in this market. Be sure to watch the video from earlier today because Tom Lee issued an important warning to investors this morning. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.